high above the border of North Carolina and Tennessee, where the winds move across the open summit of Big Bald Mountain, there once lived a man who declared himself separate from the world. No king above him, no government over him, no laws except his own. For more than 30 years, he ruled his lonely mountain kingdom with violence, stubbornness, and isolation. Some feared him, some hated him, and over time, his story became legend throughout the Appalachian. His name was David Hogg Greer, the Hermit of Bald Mountain. This is Echoes of the Blue Ridge. I'm North Carolina Realtor Ryan Phillips. The Appalachian Mountains have always attracted people seeking solitude. Hunters, moonshiners, preachers, runaways, and sometimes people fleeing the world itself. Long before off-grid living became fashionable, mountain hermits already existed deep within the Blue Ridge. But few became as feared or as strange as David Greer. Because Greer did not simply isolate himself from society. According to the old stories, he declared war against it. The story begins in the late 1700s. A German family named Greer settled near Reams Creek in Buncombe County, just north of the French Broad River. The eldest son, David, stood over 6 feet tall by the age of 18. He was intelligent, well-read, interested in philosophy, literature, and law. By all accounts, he seemed destined for something greater. And for a time, his future appeared promising. As a young man, David found work with Colonel Vance, a Revolutionary War veteran, surveyor, and farmer who helped map portions of the North Carolina and Tennessee border. Greer worked the farm by day and slept in the hayloft at night, and there he became captivated by the colonel's daughter, Mary. According to the story, David wrote her poetry and love letters for months. He believed himself deeply in love, but when he finally proposed marriage, Mary rejected him coldly. She claimed she had never even read the letters he wrote her, that she had thrown them into the fire night after night. And according to the legend, something inside David Greer broke. In 1802, Greer abandoned society and disappeared into the high Appalachians. He purchased land atop Big Bald Mountain near the Tennessee border. Big Bald is one of the famous Appalachian balds, high grassy summits where trees mysteriously do not grow. Ancient Cherokee traditions claim these bald mountaintops were formed when a giant buzzard shaped the mountains themselves. There, beside Higgins Creek, David Greer found a cave and made it his home. But isolation was not enough. Greer declared himself sovereign ruler of Big Bald Mountain. He wrote his own constitution, his own laws, and his own punishments for trespassers. Over the years, Greer transformed. Gone was the educated young dreamer. In his place stood a hard mountain recluse dressed in animal hides, carrying a rifle, farming the summit, and ruling his mountain through fear. He raised cattle, corn, rye, potatoes, and tobacco. He built tools from mountain iron ore and constructed a small mill beside Higgins Creek. Once each year he descended into the valleys for supplies, but according to the stories, he rarely paid for them. Store owners who challenged him risked violent beatings. Parents frightened children with warnings about the Hermit of Big Bald Mountain. And travelers locked their doors when Greer came down from the mountain. One of the most famous stories involving Greer concerns a tax dispute. A tax collector reportedly informed him that he owed 75 cents in unpaid taxes. Greer promised to appear in court, and he did. But according to the legend, he entered the courtroom armed with a rifle, forced everyone outside, smashed the windows, and carved his initials into the judge's desk with a knife. The taxes were never collected. Whether every detail is true is difficult to know, but the story survived because it captured the image Appalachia often created around the mountain recluses: independent, dangerous, untamed. By the 1830s, settlers increasingly moved into the mountain region around Big Bald. One neighbor, Holland Higgins, reportedly tried to live peacefully beside Greer, but after an argument over hunting on Greer's land, Greer shot Higgins dead. Stories differ about whether he was formally tried, Some accounts claimed insanity. Others claimed fear kept witnesses silent. But eventually, Greer's violent rule came to an end. In 1834, after becoming enraged at a blacksmith who failed to repair his farming tools on time, Greer threatened violence once again. This time, David Greer was shot and killed. After more than 30 years, the Hermit of Bald ruled no more. Stories like this often grow larger over time, especially in Appalachia. The mountains preserve memory differently than cities do. Oral tradition, exaggeration, fear, and admiration all blend together. Was David Greer exactly as the stories describe? Perhaps. Perhaps not. But what matters is what the legend reveals about the old mountains: isolation, pride, violence, self-reliance, and the belief that somewhere high in the Blue Ridge, a man once tried to build a kingdom beyond the reach of civilization. There is something haunting about Big Bald Mountain. The open summit, the endless wind, the feeling of standing above the world itself. Perhaps that is why stories like David Greer's endure, because the mountains have always drawn people searching for freedom. But sometimes isolation changes a person, and sometimes the wilderness reflects back the darkness already growing inside them. The Hermit of Big Bald became more than a man. He became part of the Appalachian folklore itself, a warning, a mystery, and an echo from a harsher mountain world now mostly gone. The mountains have always drawn people searching for something: freedom, solitude, a new beginning beyond the ridges. Some vanish into the wilderness alone, like David Greer atop Big Bald Mountain. But others came with families determined to carve out lives in the untamed Appalachians. Families who crossed the mountains during the earliest days of the frontier, fought in the Revolution, settled the valleys of western North Carolina, and left their names written across the Blue Ridge itself. Next time on Echoes of the Blue Ridge, we follow the story of one of the Southern Appalachians' oldest frontier bloodlines, the over-mountain legacy of James Fox and his sons. Mountain Bloodlines, the Fox family. Until then, listen carefully. The echoes are still here.